You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hey, welcome in. It's the latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. I am Tyler Maughan in Denver, Colorado. Sam Dykstra is in New York City. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Tyler.
Talking.
How are you doing?
Talking to get to where I can figure out what episode number this is. 106! 106 is this week's edition of the show. That's crazy.
I feel like we need to set up a thing like where we just text each other the next episode like randomly. Like it'll be Saturday afternoon.
Next time is 107.
Yeah, 107.
Yeah.
What do you mean 107? No. That's just the next episode.
I feel like we're very well prepared for virtually every facet of this episode or of this show every week except for the episode number. Like we have a guest coming on. We researched that. We got our 3 strikes topics. We know what we're going to talk to Ben about. But with the exception of the episode number, everything is nailed down. And then every week it's like, oh, man, I started talking and I don't remember what episode this is. And I don't think anybody cares other than us.
No, not really.
So with that, now you know. It's episode number 106 of the Show Before the Show. Talking minor league baseball, talking top prospects, talking all kinds of fun stuff. Today, we will be joined by the manager of the AAA Charlotte Knights, Mark Grudzielanek, the highest affiliate in the Chicago White Sox organization, a very, very talented roster in Charlotte. We'll talk to Mark Grudzielanek about Yohan Moncada and Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez and Carson Fulmer and Saturday Night Live and Skee Ball. We got a lot of stuff coming up with Mark Grudzielanek, and none of that is a lie, by the way. Especially those last 2 topics. Before we get into this week's edition, thanks for finding us wherever you did. We're on iTunes, we're on the Stitcher app, and we are at MILB.com/podcast. If you find us via your mobile device or elsewhere, you can give us a rating and a review and a subscription, and we would very much appreciate it. We keep climbing the charts in the old baseball podcast landscape, which is pretty cool. I'm a fan.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a fan of that.
No, that's. I mean, it's great for us. It's a good ego boost. It means you guys are actually listening. The amount of feedback we get during the week means you guys are listening, and we always greatly appreciate that, no matter what type of feedback it is. I got a direct message this week saying I say kinda too much, which good. I'm glad you're listening enough to know that I say that too much. And it's it's a verbal tick that I will be the first to admit I'm trying to improve on. I'm consider myself a writer first and a podcaster about 6th. So definitely stuff I can improve on. I am not on Tyler's level in terms of the gift of gabs.
Oh, well, just because I talk too much.
No, just because you made a career out of this, and I am very, very miles behind, very, very far behind.
I'm actually really surprised that I haven't gotten any DMs saying you yell too much. Calm down, weirdo.
No, it's not like people don't appreciate your enthusiasm.
my screaming like a crazy person. No,
I will say I appreciate the enthusiasm, Tyler. How about that?
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you, Sam.
As the only person who can give you direct feedback in this very moment, I will say I appreciate your enthusiasm.
That is true. Okay, that works for me. But yeah, thanks to all of you for listening closely enough to notice things about the show and get in touch with us however you want to. Podcast at MILB.com. Sam is on Twitter. He's at Sam Dykstra, MILB, and I am at Tyler Maughan. And with that, we will get into 3 strikes for episode number 106. We'll start things off with a bombshell story from Major League Baseball this week. Pittsburgh Pirates outfielder Starling Marte suspended for use of a performance-enhancing drug, a positive test in that regard. He will miss 80 games, will Starling Marte. This is a stunner. Nandrolone is the substance in question here, a violation of Major League Baseball's joint drug agreement. An 80-game loss for the Pirates from Starling Marte is obviously huge. He will not be eligible for the postseason if the Pirates do make it that far. Marte is an all-star and a 2-time Gold Glove Award winner. The Pirates have started off struggling a little bit. We're not going to talk about this in relation to what it means for Starling Marte or what it means for the Pirates in the loss of Starling Marte. How we are going to approach this is what does it mean for the next highest touted prospect in a long history now of very, very good outfield talent in the Pirates organization, and that's Austin Meadows, who has started off this season struggling a little bit with the AAA Indianapolis Indians through 11 games so far this season, just slashing 146, 217, 244. Looked like he was starting to get it going a little bit. Had a 4-game hitting streak from April 12th through April 16th, but last night, we're recording this on Wednesday. Last night on Tuesday, he went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in a home matchup with the Durham Bulls. That was a 6-5 Indians loss. But Sam, give me your thoughts on this, because it obviously is a bad situation for the Pirates all the way around. It could be made a little bit better if Austin Meadows looked like he was ready to go, but there have been some struggles there. We talked about how young he is. He's still just 21. He's very young for that level, but he's taken some knocks early on.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's only natural for us especially, but any fan base to immediately ask, okay, we know we have a top prospect who fills this need. I mean, that's what fueled the Andrew McCutchen speculation in this offseason. If he was going to be traded, if he was going to be moved coming off a down year, hey, Austin Meadows will be ready soon enough. Deal him now while we can get something, and then Meadows will be ready by May or June. Problem is, we're not having this discussion in May or June. We're having this discussion in April because of the Starling Marte news. And because it's this early, Meadows really hasn't found his footing. Like Tyler mentioned, 6 for 41, a 146 average. Part of that could just be early season struggles. He really didn't do that great of a job last year at Indianapolis either. 37 games, had a 214 average, showed some pop, 6 homers, 757 OPS. So overall was about league average in terms of production there. Hasn't been the case here in the first 11 games. They don't need him to be that. And as much as you want to say, well, there's a major league need right now, the Pirates don't need him to, be banging down the door at 21. He turns 22 on May 3rd. They want him to be doing everything he needs to become a more complete player. So, he's going to take his lumps. Unfortunately, he struck out 13 times and 41 at bats. I think that's a little high on his end. But we'll get it more into this in the second strike here. But just because somebody's struggling early doesn't mean they're not going to figure it out. It's not time to worry about Austin Meadows just yet. He doesn't really have the experience at AAA. Like I said, only 48 total games there at that level. Let him get that experience. Maybe we're talking about him replacing Marte, towards the end of that suspension. 82 games, that's going to get us, into the second half of the year. But the way he's performing so far, it's not enough to force the issue. I think Jose Ozuna was the guy they called up to replace him. Adam Frazier is the guy who played in right field in their first game without Marte. So they're shifting things around. It's a delicate balance. Someday we'll have the discussion of Austin Meadows banging down the door and what do they do with him, once Marte's back. But I don't think it's going to be until the latter half of that suspension, if not the very end. Maybe we're talking again about, the Pirates being in the same situation they were at the beginning of the year by the time Meadows is ready. Whether they're still competing at that point, who knows? I mean, losing Marte is a big loss for a team that is trying to compete with, the Cubs and the Cardinals in the NL Central. But in terms of Meadows, in terms of that's where our focus is, because we are prospect folks. If you're listening, you're probably a prospect person. I really tell you to hesitate before trying to immediately push, a not ready Austin Meadows to the majors.
Austin Meadows is a very athletic guy. He is a very apt baseball player in his adaptations to new levels. I'm not really super concerned about him. But again, there is going to be a steep learning curve no matter the jump to any level, but there's really always a steeper learning curve for younger guys at higher levels. He doesn't turn 22 until May 3rd, and 22 would be very young to be making your AAA debut and be a guy who's on the doorstep of the major leagues. So I'm not worried about Austin Meadows. The issue is, and Sam touched on it a little bit, you find yourselves in a circumstance now where you're already in a tough division. The Pirates haven't started off great this season, hovering right around the 500 mark, a little bit below. This timing-wise, timing is never good for a suspension of the variety of Starling Marte's, but to happen at this stage of a season when the guy who you are maybe relying on to fill that role eventually is very far from ready. That makes it worse because the focus then is so heightened on, well, Austin Meadows isn't ready. What are we going to do now? There is not a whole lot of time that you can lose in the National League Central either. And the Pirates, right now, that division is very strange because as of Wednesday, when we're recording this, the Cincinnati Reds are leading that division at 9-5. The Milwaukee Brewers are a game and a half behind at 1-5. The world champion Chicago Cubs are 7-7. They're in third place in that division. But the Pirates, you cannot afford to lose a whole lot of ground. And Starling Marte's suspension puts them in a really difficult spot right now. So I think ultimately the lesson has to be what Sam said. You don't want to rush a guy to the big leagues who isn't ready for the big leagues and throw off his development in that way. He needs the time to get it sorted out at AAA Indianapolis. And right now, if he's not ready, if you're the Pirates, you just kind of have to bite the bullet in that regard. So eventually it could mean something big for the Pirates and for Austin Meadows if he gets a look maybe toward the middle or the end of this suspension. But 80 games is a long time to be without a star like Starling Marte. And Austin Meadows just right now, you can't risk that on his developmental track.
Right, yeah. The assumption of him coming up and is like, oh, he's just going to fill that hole and it's going to be fine.
Right.
It's not true. I mean, he could come up and he would be, the same as Adam Frazier, probably worse than Adam Frazier because he doesn't have that major league experience. Now you're screwing up your top prospect because he doesn't have the confidence to face major league pitching and he doesn't have that level of success to build on. So you're throwing a whole bunch of other things into question here. Just to bring up a guy because you hope he's ready. You want to make sure he's ready. You want to make sure he's coming up with confidence with some wind at his back, not just because you have a major league need that may not even be filled by just his presence.
So that's strike one, and strike two is related to strike one. This week's edition of Toolshed discusses prospects who have struggled at the starts of seasons, and then you totally forgot that they struggled at the start of seasons. Austin Meadows, right now, things aren't looking great for him right out of the gate with a 461 OPS through 11 games. But as Sam discusses in this week's edition of Toolshed, a lot of guys have been in that boat. And the one that leads off this column is the one that I really remember. Last year, Gleyber Torres, who is now Major League Baseball's number 2 overall prospect according to MLB Pipeline, he had a very, very rough bow at Class A Advance with Myrtle Beach in the Carolina League back when he was in the Cubs organization, now obviously in the Yankee system, but finished out a 300, 374, 463 slash line after April 20th, which was really the end of his season opening struggle, and the Carolina League gets traded to the Yankees, goes out to the Arizona Fall League. He wins MVP accolades out there in the AFL. Slow starts don't doom guys necessarily.
No, the one thing I kind of noticed about putting this together is, I just went through, who had the top 50 ERAs and bottom 50 averages, over the first 2 weeks, going back the last 5 years. So going back to 2012 and just who kind of stood out. So names like Gleyber Torres, you brought up. Seth Lugo last year did not enjoy a really good start at AAA Las Vegas. We know by the end of the year, he was playing an important part in both the Mets rotation and the bullpen, ended up starting the final game of the World Baseball Classic this year for Puerto Rico. He started out last year with 15 earned runs on 26 hits and 5 walks and only 12 2/3 innings for AAA Las Vegas. Part of that is pitching for Vegas. Part of that is pitching in the PCL, but really did not get out to a good start, but learned some things along the way. I mean, that's the kind of important thing to remember. These first 2 weeks out, how do we measure guys' learning curves? It's, we fall back on our old standards, which is always, how are they doing hitting wise? How are they doing pitching wise? Are they keeping the ERAs low? Are they getting their hits? They might be doing that, but even if they're not, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not learning the things to put in the performances later. So you mentioned Torres, I mentioned Lugo. Going back even further, Francisco Lindor back in 2015, which is the year he became an AL Rookie of the Year contender, ended up losing out to Carlos Correa. But he started out the year 9 for 47 with only 30 extra base hits and a 602 OPS and 13 games with Columbus. A big reason for that, he only had a 216 BABIP, which is part of small samples. Those kind of wacky things can happen. But at the beginning of the year, if you were just looking at the numbers, you might be thinking, okay, this guy is going to really be a glove-only shortstop. He's going to provide tons of value on that side, but he's never going to really hit enough to provide value there. What do we know him now as? We know him as the franchise cornerstone for the defending American League champions, and a guy who has hit 300 in his first 2 full seasons at the major league level. So, Lindor took his lumps early, ended up ironing those out. Kind of going down the list, John Gray is a guy who struggled at AAA Albuquerque at the beginning. Franklin Barreto made the jump to Class A advanced. Stockton, from short season the year before, he didn't hit the ground running. Hit it in 152 in his first 2 weeks. I think the furthest one I had back was Matt Harvey, who, we eventually know him as the Dark Knight, pitching for the Mets back in 2012. But at the beginning of that year, he gave up 11 earned runs in only 13 innings over his first 2 weeks for an ERA of 7.62. His whip was 2.15 in that first 2 weeks at AAA Buffalo before the Mets affiliate moved to Vegas. So he doesn't even have that excuse of, pitching in an extreme hitter's park or hitter's league. He was just flat out hittable in those first couple of weeks, made the adjustments, ended up being the first really big, I think, Mets pitcher that is now part of that really good staff. So if you're sitting here worrying about somebody like Austin Matthews or J.P. Crawford, who is, again, struggling at AAA Lehigh Valley, we could go down the names. I think last week's tool shed, I kind of hit on it. Lucas Giolito was another guy who was looking like he was struggling early. I still have my worries about him, but if you're looking at just the numbers, it's too early. B, even if they are struggling in terms of not making the adjustments they need to, sometimes they need to take these lumps early to know what a struggle is like and to know what the problems in their games are. And you see those fix themselves as the year goes on. It might not even be this year. It could be, years going forward. There's a reason why these guys are top prospects. It's because they're talented. It's because they're being tested at young ages, and being tested at young ages means you're going to struggle. And sometimes that happens very early on in the season. The reason I did this list is just kind of be your antidote. If you're sitting there worried again, like about an Austin Meadows, this is a reason why not to be that worried about it.
Don't freak out. Things are going to be okay, people. We promise. Gleyber Torres, by the way, we also
I should have just written that.
Yeah, that should have just been the whole column. Don't freak out. Everything's going to be fine. It'll all be great. Yeah. Gleyber Torres is another one out of the gate, and again, very young for his level, 20 years old with Double-A Trenton. He's only slashing 237, 341, 342. Gleyber Torres is going to be fine. He'll be fine. Calm down.
Yeah, the only worry with him right now is he sat out Tuesday night's game with a shoulder injury. They've diagnosed him, I think, with bicep tendonitis, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Doesn't sound overly worrisome, but he's going to be getting an MRI. They're going to kind of be checking out on that. So just something to keep an eye on. Hopefully everything works itself out. And if you were worried about his performance, don't worry about that. We saw how good he was in the spring. I'm sure he's going to carry that to the Double-A level once he's fully healthy again.
That's how it goes with super talented dudes. Strike three, Sam.
Yeah, this was maybe my favorite story on the site this week, and I'm not saying that just to pump up Tyler. I really did enjoy it, just because I think it's something that we can all take something from. Eric Young Jr., now in the Angels system at AAA Salt Lake. You probably know his father. You probably know him. He's been all over the league, all over AAA, all over the major leagues. Has had a really difficult time off the field, and is somehow turning that into positive performance on the field. Tyler, I kind of want to let you take it, just because you wrote the story. You got to actually talk to him. But it was one of the most human stories I think I've ever read about on our site. And just to hear him kind of talk his way through what he's been through was kind of fascinating for me and inspirational.
Well, Eric Young Jr., yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about him is you go look at Eric Young Jr.'s career numbers at MILB.com, and you have to scroll like 50% of the page just to list all the teams that he's been with. Just since 2013, he's been with the Colorado Rockies and the New York Mets at the big league level, the Binghamton Mets in 2014 at the Double-A level, and Class A advanced St. Lucie as part of his season in 2014. Also spent 100 games at the big league level with the Mets, 35 games with the Braves in 2015 at the big league level, 18 with the Mets. He also spent 2 stops in AAA. He was with Las Vegas for 8 games. Gwinnett for 67. Last year he was with the Yankees. Then he was back in the in the Brewers organization, but he was back in Colorado with the Sky Sox. This season he's with Salt Lake in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim organization. So Eric Young is a very well-traveled guy, and he is a very veteran guy. He's now 31 years old. He's a former 30th round draft pick back in 2003. There's been a lot stacked against Eric Young in his career, but he's made it work. That's all been on-field stuff. Over the last week or so, you really saw his name pop up in box scores really impressively, stuff he was doing back on Friday night. He finished a triple away from the cycle. He had a really good game prior to that on Thursday. He collected 3 hits. Then on Sunday, I believe he had another big performance. Then on Monday night, goes out and goes 5 for 5 with a double, 2 RBIs, a run scored. It was his first 5-hit game since July 3rd, 2007, when he was with Class A Advanced Modesto. And that story, you go into it, and as a writer, you request the interview, and our good buddy Craig with the Salt Lake Bees calls and says, "Hey, I got EY here for you," and hands the phone over, and you start talking, and you think you're going to talk a story about, oh, you went 5 for 5, and you got 11 hits over your last 3 games. I mean, how are things going for you at the plate? And he opened the interview by saying, yeah, it's been a good week for me. I guess you could say it's one of the best weeks off of one of the hardest weeks for me as well. I found out about 3 or 4 days ago my grandma passed away, so it's been a hard week and a great week at the same time. And as soon as he said that to me, you kind of get this knife feeling in your gut, because the story that you remember about Eric Young Jr. most recently is back in spring training. He opened up to his teammates about losing his firstborn son in January. His son was born 3 months premature, Eric Young III, spent 1 night on Earth and then passed away, born too early for his body to handle. And that was something that is pain that no human being can comprehend. I'm not even going to pretend like I can understand the way something like that would hurt. And for EY, it comes in a spot in his career where things are already a little tumultuous. Last year, he spends time in a couple different organizations. This year, he signs with the Angels. He's getting into a new system. He has to get to know all new guys, whatever it is. And then you go to spring training, and you're already dealing with a heart as heavy as that. But that seemed like it was the refuge for him. The sanctuary for him was being back in baseball, being around teammates, getting a chance to talk to guys about that, open up about the things that he had been through. And that is hard enough. And then last week, Lucille, his grandmother, the mother of his father, the former big leaguer Eric Young Sr., she passes away. And so it's just one of those things where in talking with EY, you kind of got the sense that this is a guy who has surrendered to the fact that a lot of things in life are out of your control, and they're out of the control of all of us. And there are only so many things that you can wrap your hands around and hold in your life. And one of those things for EY is baseball, and it's his career. And he said, one of the quotes that stuck with me most was, he said, quote, "The guys keep me young, keep me having fun out here, keep things in perspective. I get to come every day and I get to play baseball. When you put things in perspective like that, you really can't complain. Obviously, I'm having a tough year off the field, but being on the field and coming in with these guys every day makes it a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. I appreciate every opportunity that I get." The maturity and the emotional strength to go through anything like that and then be able to still embrace just that basic perspective on life of, I'm still here. I still do what I love every day. I still have people around me that I love every day, and that's worth it. That was one of the most mind-blowing interviews that I've ever had. And, Eric Young Jr. has carved out a well-deserved reputation around baseball for just how good of a guy he is. One of the things that I love about him is he, on Twitter, his bio is Renaissance man trying to impact people as best I can. Not perfect, but I am awesome. But this is the line that I love. When I pass away, I want people to say that I was a good man. And that Eric Young Jr., I cannot think of any different way to describe Eric Young Jr. than a good man, a hell of a good baseball player, a guy who's having a lot of fun at the plate as of late, and a really pretty amazing chance to get to talk to somebody like that who shows you a lot of strength when you think things are rough in the world. And then you talk to somebody who's been through stuff like EY has over the last few months, and he's got the strength to keep going. A lot of people can derive strength from that strength, so it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend people check out the story just to read it over, print it out, like just have it near you at some point. You know, we've all gone through tough times in our lives. Like Tyler said, I don't think anybody can comprehend losing, a child like that in that fashion. And yet he's still grinding it out. I mean, baseball probably one of the least important things to him in terms of, his overall life right now. But if it can provide the refuge that it can, if he can get over that, and you're never over it. I don't want to say get over it, but if you can show up every day and find the success that he is right now, I mean, it's incredibly inspirational. It'd be inspirational if he just showed up to the park, and he's doing more than that. And I think that's just something we all can take something from, and again, just kind of save it. Just save it for that down moment you're going to have this week of something is happening at work, and this is bad, and why is it dragging? And just remember, there are people going through things much worse than us, and it all comes down to character, and it all comes down to attitude. And EY definitely has two of the best of those in all of the minors.
Already one of the easiest guys in baseball to cheer for. And for Eric Young Jr., you can find him on Twitter. He is at EYJR, and go give him some encouragement, because one heck of a great guy, and he's been doing a lot of good things on the field as of late for the Salt Lake Bees as well in AAA in the Angels organization. And even after our conversation, he went out the next night and threw out another 2-for-4 day. So Eric Young Jr. is now batting a mere .396, .418, .509 on the young season. And another thing that I thought was cool, and this is kind of just perspective from a baseball standpoint, but I said, there are guys at the big league level in the outfield struggling a little bit in Anaheim. Do you think about that at all anymore in your career, especially with all the stops you've had? And he said, quote, "Now because I'm older, I've learned how to control those emotions and those thoughts. I think as a youngster, it's only normal to think about that. Now that I've got some experience, you worry about the things you can control and let other guys worry about those things. If they want to make that call, that's on them. If not, I'm going to keep getting my work in and keep playing as hard as I can where I'm at." So there's a lot of things you can extrapolate about life philosophy from Eric Young Jr. and a brief gamer from this week. And a big thanks to him for talking with the site. So that'll wrap up Three Strikes for this week's edition, episode number 106 of the Show Before the Show podcast. And coming up, we're going to take a trip to Charlotte and the Chicago White Sox organization, where we will talk with the AAA manager of the Charlotte Knights, Mark Grudzielanek, about a very talented roster he's got in that team and a whole lot more. That's coming up next. To the International League we go at the AAA level in the first month of the 2017 season. Second game of a 3-game home series and a 6-game homestand tonight for the AAA Charlotte Knights, the affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. And we are joined by the head man in Charlotte, Mark Grudzielanek, the manager of the Knights. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, doing wonderful. Thanks. How are we doing over there?
We're good. We're we get to finally talk about real baseball over the last couple of weeks instead of just speculating about rosters and where guys are headed and all that kind of stuff. So it's, I would imagine it's better for you guys even than it is for us to finally get into the routine of a season.
Oh, no question. We can't. We're anxious to get spring training started, but we're more anxious to get out of there and get started with the real season for sure.
Well, you guys are finally underway and getting things started in the IL for 2017, and your roster in Charlotte this year, Mark, is one of the ones that we were most excited to see, and I think everybody throughout the prospect community was most excited to see because it's just so loaded. And the crazy thing about it is it's loaded with a whole bunch of guys who weren't in the organization as of last year and then come over in the offseason and form this really talented mix, in addition to really talented guys who are already in the organization who are in Charlotte this year. Just kind of give us what the feel is like, what the dynamic is with that group that you've got in Charlotte right now.
Yeah, no question. I mean, spring training on, you try to get to know some people and get acquainted and feel comfortable in the system with the new guys and the guys that have been here, kind of school them along. And but I think it's a great feeling. The vibe is great here. The atmosphere is, this ballpark is tremendous to play in. These kids get it. They're fortunate. And, it is fun to watch when you see the potential of some of these kids here. It's really fun to see them get out there and play the game and watch them and try to, not only, physically but mentally get them prepared to move to the next level, which is what our jobs are here to do.
And Mark, one thing I want to get into before we talk about that roster is just your involvement, with this White Sox organization. And this is your first year managing at the AAA level. Previously managed at Class A King County and then got involved in the player development side with the D-backs. When did this kind of introduce itself? When did you, first reach out to the White Sox? Did they reach out to you? How did this opportunity develop?
Yeah, I was my first year in the game was 15, and after I retired in 2010, I got the position with the Diamondbacks at A-ball manager, and I had a pretty successful year. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And for me personally, I was just ready to what's the next step kind of thing for Mark Grudzielanek. What do I need to do? I wanted to learn everything, and I went into the coordinating side of it. Shout out to all the different affiliates throughout the organization, and got to know all the kids, which was enjoyable also. I really enjoyed that. So, from that point, the changes that were happening in Arizona, it was, okay, where do I fit in kind of thing. And before all that happened, kind of reached out a little bit and found out that the White Sox had a position open over there. And with Mike Bell, the son of Buddy Bell, with that connection, Mike reached out to a few people, and Buddy was the one who called back and said we had a position. I interviewed for it, and everything went really well, and decided to hire me, which has been a great opportunity for me. And here I am in the first year in the organization.
Mark, one of the things that's kind of interesting is you've got two managerial positions in two different organizations, and you didn't play in either of those during your playing days. Was it just kind of one of those situations where, baseball is such a relatively small community, and you come across guys in your career that you're going to run into in different organizations and at different places in the future in your career? Was that the genesis of it with the D-backs initially? Is that, you just obviously worked with guys and come across them later, and that's where you found yourself landing in a coaching role?
Yeah, no question. It's kind of like playing. You go out there and you play. You're not just playing for that team you have on your jersey. You're playing for everybody else out there. And if you impress this one person or one eye out there that says, hey, this guy can play, let's sign him. It's kind of that thing too. You go out there and people change roles, people change positions, they move up. Other organizations, hire them, and from the front office all the way down to, every part of the game. So. And as well as I do, it's who you know and what they think of you, and it kind of was one of those things. And it is what it is. I don't get worked up with that. Oh, I didn't play for this team or organization. Oh my God, I can't work for them. Nonsense. There's guys here I know. There's guys I worked with and came across to at some point in my career, and we get along and they understand what I'm about and what I want to do, and it's a great fit. And I think that's kind of how it works.
All right, Mark. Well, now I kind of want to pivot to the roster itself, starting off with Yoel Moncada. MLB.com has him as the top overall prospect in the game. Tyler mentioned before he's part of that group that is new to this organization. This is your first time working with him. Homered last night, 3 homers on the season with Charlotte in their 11 games. Just first off, give me your first impressions of him. What did you know about him? Obviously, the overall talent stood out, but what has it been like getting to know him in these first dozen or so games? And what kind of polish are you guys working on with him?
Right. Well, I was really excited because he's right in my backyard in the middle infield. So it was something where I was like, okay, let's do it. I saw some video on him early on before I met him. Know he's a thicker guy that can, his tools physically are just at the top. I can see why everybody loves him and sees the potential that possibly could come out of that. Getting to know him is awesome. He's a good kid. He's young. He does, his raw talent, it speaks for itself. He does have some things to learn as far as, playing the game, little intricacies around the game, kind of, cutoffs. Just basic stuff about the game. So that just comes with reps and understanding it and playing the game. The talk about him was his defense wasn't, as good as it should. His bat is he has pop. He's a 5-tool guy. He can throw, run, hit. He can pretty much do it all. And we just kind of polish him all up there. So the things we're doing here, and once I got a hold of him, is defensively just tightening him up a little bit. His footwork needs, trying to get a little tighter, a little smoother, not so rough, a little softer around the bases, and that in turn will quicken him up a little bit. His hands too, tighten them up, get him to throw a little bit more over the top, strengthen his arms, use his legs a little bit so you don't use as much arm and don't have to, so it saves his arm a little bit down the road. things like that. As far as his offense is again, he just needs reps. He's got a beautiful swing from the left side. He's obviously a little bit stronger from the left side than he is from the right. But again, a switch hitter that is deadly on either side, and he plays the game with tremendous heart and gets after it. So he's a fun guy to work with, and I look for working with him for the next few months until he makes the jump up there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned so much of your work on defense. Some people might know you want to Gold Glove at second base, so I'm sure it helps him to have you there to learn from. But just to go to the offensive side real fast, you mentioned being a switch hitter. One thing that stood out last year when he got that call to the majors with Boston was the inability to make contact consistently. So far, he struck out 15 times and 44 at bats with you guys. What does he need to do to kind of improve that, or are you guys not worried about it given the way everything else works when he does connect?
Right. No, I would love to see him, cut those in half maybe. But again, it's a process. I mean, he's a young boy. I mean, you're looking at, what is he right now? He's 21 maybe, 21 years old. I mean, it is like, so for him to mature and understand the experience that he's getting right now is he's probably 2 years ahead of you're 23, 24 when you break into this league. So he's learning at a rapid pace here, and some of these guys are pretty crafty out there. He's facing some veteran guys that are 5, 6 years more experienced, sometimes up to 10, 12 years more experienced than he has seen, and he's a baby still. So getting his reps out there, understanding what they're trying to do to him, and learning and processing is really big for him. So mentally trying to help him understand it and take all that. But with that said, he's reading, understanding the pitch selection, what they're trying to do to him. So this is all something that the patterns, and this is all something that he's getting accustomed to and getting the relation with and trying to understand it. So with that said, he can hit a fastball. Trust me on that. So now he needs to break down on the curveballs and be able to hit the hanging curveballs and take advantage of the mistakes there. So it's just him branching off, understanding the pitch selection a little bit more, and then just keep learning. I think he'll be fine.
Mark, let's pivot and talk a little bit about this pitching staff. You guys go into 2017 with really kind of the big three in the White Sox organization. Lucas Giolito, the second-ranked prospect in the system, according to MLB Pipeline. Reynaldo Lopez is number 4. Carson Fulmer is number 5. Of course, he was a White Sox draft selection, 8th overall in 2015. For those three guys, it's kind of the crazy thing about it is you talk about them and you sort of forget about somebody like Tyler Danish or Zach Birdie, other really talented arms who are on that staff, just because there's so much focus on those top three. But let's go through them a little bit, because the discussion coming into 2017, especially in Carson Fulmer's situation, was, well, do the White Sox want him in the bullpen? Is he going to be a guy who just grows up and his stuff plays up as a reliever, or is he going to be a starter? I got a chance to talk to him in spring training. He said he really wanted to be a starter. Chris Getz told me the system, the organization really views him as a starter. And getting out of the gate this year, pretty good returns for him so far. 17 innings through his first 3 starts. He struck out 11. He's only walked 3. What have the early returns looked like from your vantage point for Carson Fulmer first?
Yeah, no, Carson, he's doing what he needs to do. I think he, yesterday he threw here and got the win. I think he topped out at 95 or something like that. Throwing the ball extremely well. And what I love about him is, he's the deception that he brings to the table, his short arm little motion, and that you can pump it like that. He throws a cutter with a curveball and a change. I mean, he has everything that he needs. Throws plenty hard enough. Again, I think a lot of people, their concern is that it's his size, and that doesn't bother me at all, because he's whatever he is. He's maybe 5'11", 5'10", 5'11". He's not this big, overwhelming force out there, but the competitiveness that he brings to the table is second to none. So you got to love a guy like that just kind of steamboats everybody and gets after it. Keeps the ball down really nice. I like what he's doing out there. I think for sure he has the ability to be a 3 in the major leagues. So now he's young. We got to develop him, get him comfortable with all of his pitches and when he can throw them, and this is the level to do it at.
And just to go to the other two pitchers real fast that Tyler mentioned, Giolito and Lopez, this is their first season in the system, maybe getting themselves a little acclimated to, the way the White Sox do things. But, they've had success at the AAA level before, didn't have that same success in the majors last year. This is your first time working with AAA players. What is it like working with them? Somebody who knows what the show is like, knows what they have to do to get there, has been humbled a little bit, and then now you need to kind of finish them off to get back, particularly with those two. What are you guys kind of working on in terms of getting them, major league ready once again?
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's always good when you have a little failure in there, and a little downside to where, okay, I got to work. I mean, I'm not just going to be handed this, and the guys are just not going to lay down for me out there. So, builds character, and it gets you out there working on things and continue that, because this is a game where it's a game of adjustments, and you gotta make adjustments all the time. And these two young lads are out there, and they're pitching, and I think the biggest thing for both of them is to be a little more consistent, and their 2 and 3 pitches got to be a little more consistent around the plate, where they can get ahead and start guys off with curveballs or breaking balls and get ahead, and not just rely on that fastball so much. You got guys that throw in the mid to upper 90s. That's starters. That's a rare thing. So that's kind of something that they have. But yet now they got to build on the off-speed pitches and get consistent with that. It will totally open up some part of their games there on the mound, to where they can do some real damage up there and get to that consistency that we're looking for, and then carry that on into the majors.
Mark, when you got drafted, you spent 4 seasons in the minors before making your big league debut, and then parts of 9 seasons in total, rehab assignments, all that kind of other stuff in the minor league game. But obviously a very long big league career, 1,802 games over 15 years. When you look back at the start of your career, and I asked Chris Getz this question at spring training last month, there are so many things different now for what players are able to learn about themselves, what they're able to learn about the game, the amount of scouting that's available to them, the amount of information that's available to them. Does that stand out to you as kind of the biggest difference between what guys have access to growing up through the systems in baseball now versus what you were a player? What do you think stands out most about the biggest differences between your time in the minors and guys who are coming up now? Well,
I mean, there's no question. I mean, the stats and the information that that is in front of you nowadays is unbelievable. The videos you can watch and see every pitcher, every player, what their weaknesses are, what you want to do. So that's a huge advantage. When that started coming into play, it was back then we didn't even think it was important. We just went out there and played the game and kind of went through the motions, and it was more about what do I need to do. It was more about your mechanics and getting your things done. But when that opened up, the stats of other guys, what he likes to do with guys in scoring position, his go-to pitch, his strikeout pitch, situations. I mean, that is his times the home so he can steal bases. I mean, that just opened up, and it's just a new part of it. And now with the statistics, with all the bat speeds and things like that, directions and all that stuff. It's just getting so crazy that, now we're trying to figure out how to use it all. So, but the game has changed tremendously in that direction with the information that the kids have now, and it's only going to help us.
All right, Mark, we got a couple of good ones for you before we get you out of here. When you do preparation for an interview, you read as much stuff as you can about somebody, and oftentimes that does include checking out their Wikipedia page, which is dubious at best. But there is a thing on your Wikipedia page which I am begging the universe to be true, and it's the second sentence under early years, and it says, quote, "He was a regional skee ball champion in 1987. Is that true?
That is false. That is so false. I don't know how that got it. Really,
man!
I'm
so bummed.
I don't know if it came from a... Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I did play it when I was younger as a kid and had fun with it, but it was never a, regional champions.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is, like, is it that structured in El Paso that there are, like, regional championships for skee ball? I was going to be baffled by that. Okay, well, since that one is not true, then I do want to ask you about one other thing, which is that you were drafted the second time you were drafted, originally taken out of high school in 1989 by the Mets in the 17th round out of El Paso. But then, and this is really just, I'll admit, this is admittedly a selfish question. Sam is based in New York. I'm based in Denver. You were drafted out of Trinidad State Junior College in Trinidad, Colorado. Very small town on the southeastern plains in Colorado, kind of right at the foothills of the Rockies and close to the border of New Mexico, but not really near anything. A program that has churned out some talent, but not a whole lot of guys with 15-year big league careers. How did you land at Trinidad State?
Oh my goodness, it was a long run. I mean, I had some experience. I originally was supposed to go to Oklahoma State. It fell through 2 weeks before I was going out there with scholarships and things like that. They changed it up on me. So then I was chasing around a little bit, went to Howard JC in Texas there. They wanted me to pitch. I didn't want to pitch. I wanted to play shortstop, and they said, no, you're a pitcher. So I left there at semester. Ended up going to school a little bit at home with my girlfriend in El Paso, then went on trying to find a school to take me in, and wound out with a wonderful coach over there named Dino Giratano at Trinidad State. Got me over there and gave me a scholarship because, I was, broke then and couldn't afford anything. And then it all worked out, man. What a wonderful opportunity to play for him and to go to the Junior College World Series and just had a wonderful year and experience.
All right. Well, Tyler's question went 1 for 2 instead of
which
truth.
Is such a bummer.
Truthness, yeah.
Skee ball championship.
Mine, we actually have video evidence for. I just wanted to get your kind of story of the 1997 SNL skit you were involved in. It's still on the internet if anybody wants to find it. Helen Hunt was, I think, the host that week. You get to put your arm around her in the skit. You get one line. I mean, how did that come about with so many major league players involved in that? I think Scott Rowland was one of them, a couple other names people might recognize. They should check it out. It's still online. But, yeah, talk me through that experience.
Yeah, what a wonderful experience. We all went up, and our agents are from there. They're aces with Stan and Steph Levinson, and all those guys were with the same agents there with Sam and Steph. And, it came Sam, one of the agents there, set it all up and said, hey, and we just kind of, it was like a last minute thing up there. Jack Nicholson was on, Helen Hunt. It was so funny, and we enjoyed it. And I was getting all these dares to give her a kiss and grab her arm and give her a hit in the air. I mean, we were joking around, and what a great experience. Rolly and Hunley was there. He was the main guy there, and I was just a rookie then, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, but again, it was a last minute thing, and what a great experience meeting them people.
Saturday Night Live star, manager of the AAA Charlotte Knights, the affiliate of the Chicago White Sox, and as we all know, legendary 1987 regional skee ball champion Mark Grudzielanek joins the show. Mark, we can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today, and best of luck the rest of the way with a fun Knights team we'll be watching.
Oh, awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
Big thanks again to Mark Grudzielanek, the one-time American League Gold Glove winner, as Sam pointed out, formerly with the Kansas City Royals and a whole bunch of other teams, and an original Expo in his career. Big thanks to Mark Grudzielanek for joining the show and for lending us his skee ball knowledge. And with that, we'll pivot to Benjamin Hill. Ben, how do you like skee ball?
I love skee ball. I used to play at the Jersey Shore all the time, and I was pretty good. I would take a conservative approach and go for the 30s. And, not try to, like, blow it all in the 50s. And then sometimes there were the skee balls. This is in later years. Or at least my later years. I would go to places that had those weird 100s in the top corners.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with the hundreds. I thought that was like a – and I felt the hundreds were a fool's game because anytime you miss the 100, it's a 10.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it.
No, that is true, and it speaks a lot about human psychology that they put it up there knowing that you're going to go for it, and then you're just going to get 10s, then you're only going to get like 2 tickets, which contribute to you getting, a plastic dinosaur out of the arcade in Wildwood. Anyway, the reason being,
I'm a high class guy, man.
No, I
went City, man.
I went to Cape May, but I wanted to be relatable to the people. I wanted to be one of the people's people.
Well, I only
otherwise
went
known
twice,
as.
So.
Oh, okay. So Sam's the trashy one among us.
Classes, apparently. Jesus.
We're not elitists. I've been to Wildwood. I spent the night in the worst hotel I've ever been in my life in Wildwood. So
I think that almost every hotel in Wildwood qualifies as that. Just kidding, Wildwood people.
We ever spent on a podcast.
Just kidding.
Reviewing the Jersey Shore.
We're just ripping on Wildwood, New Jersey, and everybody is confused who has never been there. Well, the reason being, Ben, we discussed with Mark Grudzielanek, the second line in his Wikipedia bio is that he was a regional skee ball champion in 1987. Turns out not to be true. If you had to invent an accomplishment for yourself and put it on a Wikipedia bio of yourself, what would it be?
Probably that I'm a skee ball champion.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a really good one. And not to suggest that Mark Grudzielanek invented that himself, but somebody did. And I love, Sam and I discussed as soon as we got off the call, he obviously had been made aware of that fact before because he was like, yeah, I don't know how that got on there. So now we know. Whoever the skee ball Wikipedia bandit is who's going around and updating the pages of former big leaguers, kudos to you, our good friend. Well, Ben, you're coming up on road trip number 1, the Frisco Rough Riders and the Lazy River and Teddy Roosevelt, who swings really weird in the logo. It's all on deck.
Yeah, my road trip season, my season of travel kicks off tomorrow, which would be Thursday, which would be today. If you're listening to this on the day it came out. It might be yesterday if you're listening to it the day after it came out. Regardless, April 20th, April 21st, I will be in Frisco, home of the Rough Riders, the only team in Texas and the Texas League I've yet to visit, so I made it a one-stop road trip because I'm overdue. And after Chuck Greenberg took over ownership of the team, there's been a lot of improvements to Dr. Pepper Ballpark, the Lazy River chief among them. And I'll be there on Grease Night on the 21st, the movie Grease, not the country Grease. And I've still never seen Grease. That was on my to-do list, and I didn't do it. So I might meet Frenchie, and I'm going to be like, I don't know who you are, except you were. But she's going to be at the ballpark. Frenchie will be at the ballpark. And I'm looking forward to meeting her, and who knows? Maybe I'll be able to watch Grease on a plane.
Yeah, you got enough time. How long is that flight?
It's about the length of Grease.
Yeah. Okay. Well, between now and then,
not the country, the movie, right? That could have been interpreted either way, length of a flight, distance-wise. But you just mean the length of the movie, Grease.
Yes, the flight to Dallas Fort Worth is about the length of from New York City is about the length of Grease, the movie.
The movie. Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
What else are you going to kind of be looking for other than just how they handle a promo night, how the Lazy River is going? I mean, do you actually have plans to go in it?
Yeah. I've talked to the team. We haven't exactly figured out what we're going to do, but I'm definitely looking forward to do something unique with the Lazy River. I've written about it on the blog and on MILB.com before, so I feel like an article just getting quotes about it is probably not the direction to go. Hopefully have a video element and do something fun and maybe not interactive, but something that gives the visual experience of what it's like to ride a lazy river in a ballpark. And beyond that, Grease Night. I have a designated eater lined up, and we'll be doing some food content, of course. A few article ideas floating around, but so much of what I end up doing at a ballpark cannot really quite be planned. And it gives me a lot of anxiety going in because I always want to know I'm getting something. But I think some of the best things I've ever done, or the things that I'm proudest of, are the things that just sort of happen. So I have 2 nights, a really engaged team and front office staff, and I'm just hoping for the best and wish me luck. And because I am prone to anxiety, but I get over it. I hit those ballparks, and I do my best. So follow along. Twitter, @BensBiz.
Yeah, well, when you have a 2-night stay like this, I mean, most of your trips are just bopping around to one night, and you're trying to pack so much in. I mean, when you have 2 nights like this, do you do everything in one night and see what happens in the second, or split it up halfway? I mean, how do you kind of treat a trip like this?
I think my philosophy will be to look at the first night as, do the designated eater, try to get some Lazy River stuff, and do it more like I normally do it, taking a lot of laps around the ballpark, get a ballpark tour beforehand, probably X, Y, and Z. And then as the night goes on, then I'll be able to make some notes to myself of things I can focus on the next night that either didn't get done properly the night before, or that were things I couldn't do that night that I can then go into the next day like, bam, here's my angle, here's my story. And that's worked out in the past on 2-night trips where stories that came about wouldn't have happened in one night because I needed the experience of one night to even have the idea to do it in the first place, if that makes sense. So I'm glad to be there for 2 nights. And, 3 nights. I'm flying out tonight, Wednesday, 2 ball games. And then I'll be home on Saturday. It's going to be a whirlwind.
One of the things that I'm bummed about is this will be the first road trip since the demise of the website Vine, and Ben created some of my favorite minor league baseball content over the last 6-8 years thanks to Vine with road trip hotel room reviews and also the irreverent ballpark joke of the day. What do you have something in the hopper? I mean, you could still do like a Twitter video, I guess, or an Instagram video, that type of thing, but it's not fun because you're not going to have to be constricted to 6 seconds. Are you reviving anything like that, or are you just going to let them all go off on the old dusty trail?
You know, a lot of that is still kind of play it by ear. I think I'm going to try to continue with the groundbreaking and subversive ballpark joke of the day. I really did like the Vine format because it would force me to, set up punchline in 6 seconds, and I liked that challenge. But I think for now I'm going to try to convert that stuff to Instagram and develop maybe a greater presence on there, tweet when I can, and always open for suggestions because I'm no social media maven or guru or whatever words people use online to describe people are good at something. So, help me out with the social media. But RIP Vine. I really liked Vine.
Yeah, me too.
And,
it was like the only good thing that Twitter ever came up with. Like, Twitter is a garbage pile, but Vine was fun.
I like Twitter too, man. I think like anything in life, if you focus on the negative, you're going to have a negative experience. I just hang out with good people in real life and on social media, and I have no problems.
Lord knows among the conversations that you and I and Sam have had, none of us ever focus on the negative in life. Ben, let's talk about something that is really cool and very positive. The promo preview coming out this week. There is a bobblehead in Akron that is one of the more unique ones that we'll see this season in baseball.
Yeah, I got a promo watch column every Tuesday in which I can swing it when I'm not on the road, and I've been writing about this stuff for years. So every week when I take a look at upcoming promos, I'm looking for something that I haven't written about before. The Akron Rubber Ducks this coming Saturday, the 22nd, are honoring an usher who retired at the end of last season after 20 years on the job, Mr. Jack Kilway, and I just thought that was cool. I like to really focus on the regional and local things and the things that teams do to make them unique and that can't necessarily be replicated around the minors. And I think it's really cool to honor an usher in that capacity. So I talked to Jack Kilway. You can read my interview with him in the new promo watch column on MILB.com, get his thoughts on the matter. And, spoiler alert, he's overjoyed. He's an 82-year-old guy who worked in the grocery industry for 47 years, retired in an additional 20 years as an usher at the ballpark, really beloved presence. And I just think it's really cool to highlight the people who are such a crucial part of the game day experience who might get overlooked because they're not sexy names, so to speak. They're not prospects. They are just the people you can count on every day. And I like when teams honor them, and I hope that kind of thing continues to happen.
Yeah, but how do they kind of promote this type of stuff? I mean, it is a really cool idea, and it's great to have this on the schedule. But when you're trying to get people to come to the ballpark with these types of promotions, here, get this bobblehead of somebody you might not have known if you've never come. I mean, how do they kind of promote this in the community, trying to get people out to Akron? Well,
I'm not sure what their specific promotional approach is with this one, but there's only 1,000, so I don't think there's going to be a huge surplus. And you're right. Like, for instance, the Akron Rubber Ducks later in the season are giving away an Enrico Palazzo bobblehead referencing Naked Gun and the umpire that Leslie Nielsen was in that climactic scene. That's the kind of bobblehead people are going to probably line up for. And that will probably go for decent money on the secondary market if you're one of those collector types. In Usher bobblehead, not so much. But again, this is a guy who's been in the community his whole life, worked at a local grocery store, managed a grocery store for 47 years, was well known at the ballpark for an additional 20 years. I think there's enough interest in that from the people who know him to be interested, and then beyond that, people just like bobbleheads, and there'll be enough people who are like, this is cool. I might not know that guy specifically, but this is cool. And if you don't think it's cool, give it to someone who does think it's cool. There's only 1,000.
Yeah, I want to get one thing straight. Like, I don't think that you only have to have like gate value to have a bobblehead. I mean, this is a really cool thing. I just wonder about it in terms of like the promotional way. Why this, but I guess it's a Saturday game. People are probably coming anyways. It'll be could be a collector's item in a couple of years. We might see it on eBay. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. And but you're right. I don't think this is one that a team would do to blow out a night that otherwise might not be remarkable. This is a Saturday night, good crowds in Akron regardless, and as a bonus, an usher being honored as a bobblehead. I think it's the sort of thing that goes beyond necessarily thinking, how much revenue will this drive, and it's more saying we are an organization that values our people to the extent that we will honor them with bobbleheads.
Ben, what else is going on in promo preview this week?
Oh, all sorts of stuff, Tyler. We got the El Paso Chihuahuas doing their first Diablos days, wearing the throwback uniforms back to when they were a AA club, a good 10, 20, 30 years ago. So that's a really cool throwback promo that's happening every Thursday home game throughout the season. We got the Fresno Grizzlies with 90s night. Of course, the Fresno Grizzlies are always doing things in a unique fashion. On this particular 90s night, they're honoring Crisscross, Daddy Mac, and Mac Daddy. Of course, had the iconic hit Jump, which I was in middle school when that came out, so I loved it. And these are backwards jerseys. Crisscross wore backwards clothes. That was their gimmick. These are backwards jerseys, and that the front is on the back and the back is on the front, and vice versa. So pretty cool angle there. And then as a late breaking edition, they're selling cans of Surge at the ballpark, the energy drink, which is still being made. These are not expired cans of Surge, but it is something that is looked upon as a 90s thing, is something you might have drank in the 90s if you were a Nick kid, I guess, watching some Rugrats and drinking Surge. I don't know. But you can buy Surge at the ballpark for the first and probably last time in Fresno on Saturday. So those are some big ones. And what else we got? We got Grease Night in Frisco. I'll be there, so I'll tell you all about it. Oh, and then back to the Grizzlies. They used to be a Giants affiliate, and they still celebrate the Giants in their promotions. They're giving a Buster Hugs bobblehead giveaway, which is Tim Lincecum and Buster Posey hugging after winning the World Series. And it's a really emotional display in a bobblehead. They're just it looks like Lincecum's sitting on Posey's lap, and they're hugging, and it's a strange image, and really cool bobblehead. So they're giving that away this weekend as well. What a week.
There was one other thing I wanted to touch on that you did a blog post about, which is just incredible that it's happening, I guess. But Charleston is doing an April 20th promotion, and if anybody knows what April 20th is, it's 420, and if you know what 420 is, I'm not going to spell it out for you. But what is Charleston doing to celebrate April the 20th?
Well, yeah, 420 is a holiday, and for many people around the country, and the River Dogs are capitalizing on this by working to legalize marinara at the ballpark.
You want to say that one more time, just so everybody got it real clear?
Marinara.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't ask me, ask the River Dogs, but they're advocating for the legalization of marinara, which is already legal, and they're going to have plenty of 100 gallons of it at the ballpark as part of their legalization efforts. And on top of that, they announced today that in addition to having 100 gallons of marinara and adding it to their concession specials as part of their bid to legalize marinara, they're giving away bags of oregano to the first 500 fans, which would spice up your marinara. Marinara?
Yeah, either way.
I'll go with marinara. Seems like a real missed opportunity for the one team that'll be playing at home on 420 in this state, but that is neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's tough in minor league baseball. You got to be family friendly at all times. The River Dogs are pushing the envelope with this one, but it's pretty hilarious just to take a Thursday night, which are already the loosest night of the week in minor league baseball with Thirsty Thursdays. And I don't think this would happen on any Thursday night, but 420 happened to be a Thursday, and two worlds converge. Thirsty Thursday and legalize marinara.
There was I believe in Peoria in the Arizona Fall League a couple of years ago, there was a pizza chain, and that was their slogan, and it was on a gigantic outfield wall sign at Peoria Sports Complex, the spring training home of the Padres and Mariners. So it's it's a movement, man. The legalized marinara movement. It is out there. He is Benjamin Hill. You can find him on Twitter. He is at BensBiz. The blog is bensbiz.mlblogs.com, and you can check out promo preview and all kinds of stuff from the road through Frisco and the Texas League coming up this week and next week. That's where Ben will be the end of this week and into the weekend. And enjoy it, man. Have fun in Frisco.
Thanks, man. I'm looking forward to it. My flight leaves later this evening, so safe travels to me, and looking forward to talking to you guys next week when I'm back home, and hopefully I'll have good stories to tell.
Hey, safe travels to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks again to Mark Grudzielanek and Benjamin Hill for joining episode number 106. The other thing that we never remember to do, we never remember the episode title, and we also never remember before we get to the segment where we pick our MILB TV games. We never remember to do that. And then we always find good ones. Sam, what are you watching this week on MILB TV?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not something we need to tell people, do we? But that's all right. It just,
I like to pull back the curtain
our...
on this podcast. It's good.
Yeah, I think we're very open about how we put this together, which is with paper clips and bubble gum.
If we only forget two things out of an entirety of a podcast, I think we're doing pretty well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's spin it that way. Well, I mean, if we're gonna do a Mark Grudzielanek interview, we might as well tell you what his team is doing this weekend, which they've got a couple of home games Saturday, Sunday. The reason I mentioned those two, obviously going to be on MLB TV, as all Charlotte Knights games are. But they'll be hosting Rochester, and Reynaldo Lopez is scheduled to go on Saturday, and Carson Fulmer is scheduled to pitch on Sunday. That's right now. Those are the probables. Two immensely talented guys, both who could end up in the bullpen. You heard Tyler ask Grudzielanek about Fulmer particularly. Lopez also has two killer pitches right now in his fastball and breaking ball that could translate very well into relief. It sounds like he's not using the changeup as much in his first couple starts with Charlotte. Maybe that'll be something to watch on Saturday. They try to get him back to that. But those are both two guys, as we've mentioned, have had major league experience, need to find some polish. They'll get their chance against Rochester this weekend. So if you want to see, an interview play itself out live, I mean, those would be the two games I would watch, just to keep tabs on those two guys. Determine for yourself whether they look like they can stick like starters.
I gave Sam one matchup that I'm watching, and I've also got another one, but one that I think is going to be interesting to have an eye on comes on Thursday nights. By the time you all are listening to this, it may be in progress, but it's an 8:10 Eastern start on Thursday night. A guy we have discussed on the podcast before, South African right-hander Dylan Unsworth will get the ball in his first start of the season for the AA Arkansas Travelers. Unsworth actually started the year up in AAA with the Tacoma Rainiers. He made two starts up there, but he was sent back to the AA level as of 3 days ago, back on Sunday. So he will make a start at home on Thursday evening against Springfield, but he's a fun arm to watch. It was really impressive in Major League Spring Training this year. Again, we've discussed on the podcast before, it's kind of a race right now between Unsworth and the Mariners organization and Gift Ngope and the Pirates system as who could be the very first African-born major leaguer in history. So somebody to watch in the Texas League coming up on Thursday. Also on Thursday in the Southern League, there's a really good cross-Chicago clash between a couple of starting pitchers. And again, with starting pitchers, kind of always subject to change just because of the way that rotations can stack up and things can get mixed around for minor league teams. But as of right now, the slated matchup on Thursday night at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time in Tennessee will be Michael Kopech in the Chicago White Sox organization going for Birmingham against Trevor Clifton in the Chicago Cubs organization going against Tennessee. So if you're a fan of Chicago area baseball, that's a good one, a matchup between a couple of top prospects in the White Sox and Cubs system. And that's game one of a doubleheader. So that'll be a 7-inning matchup starting at 5:30 Eastern time, and those two teams will follow with 7 more that night. So yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up this week on MILB TV.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we made this a little bit of a Southside centric podcast.
Sorry, everybody.
No, in a good way. Like that, they are a team that deserves, mention a lot, just because that system is so fascinating, and it's not just fascinating because of the talent they have, but the question marks that come with that talent. It's not just, they're really good. It's like, no, we need to know more about these guys before we can make, great evaluations of them. So that's all the more reason to turn on this weekend. Tyler mentioned Kopech, just to see exactly how hard he's going to throw. I mean, that's always must-watch stuff. So the fact that when that's coming should be a big thing. And like Tyler said, just keep an eye out, before the game. If you're not going to the game itself, make sure he's still scheduled for Thursday and it hasn't been pushed back or something. But I mean, that if you wanted to, you could watch White Sox pitching prospects all weekend and have a full weekend for yourself. So
you can find all that and more at MILB.tv, and you can get hooked up for your subscription for the 2017 season there as well. And that'll do it for episode number 106. Thanks again to Mark Grudzielanek and to Benjamin Hill, and our thanks as always to you for tuning in. You can get in touch with the show, podcast at MILB.com. Sam is on Twitter at Sam Dykstra, MILB, and I am at Tyler Mon. We will talk to you guys next week.